Thank you, Dr. Lokesh, for nice introduction. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Asutosh for giving me this opportunity to speak in front of you. And my slides are visible?
Yes, sir.
Topic allotted to me by Dr. Asutosh is what is the role of SGLT2 in heart failure? I will present my talk. You know, type 2 diabetes mellitus is a family of metabolic disorder characterized by hyperglycemia as a consequence of abnormalities in insulin secretion and insulin sensitivity. And in fact, SGLT2 inhibitor is a relatively new class of oral antidiabetic drug, have garnered considerable attention recent past, are considered potential first-line candidate for the management of type 2 diabetes mellitus. And because of its beneficial effects in heart failure and chronic kidney disease, irrespective of diabetic status, it has emerged as a game changer in the management of diabetes. As all of you know, the role of kidney in glucose homeostasis, approximately 180 grams of glucose filtered per day, and out of which 90% is reabsorbed in proximal convoluted tubule through SGLT2 receptors, and only 10% through SGLT1 receptors. If we can block these SGLT2 receptors by SGLT2 inhibitor like dapagliflozin, INPA, and CANA, then these glucose will be excreted. So very simple mechanism. By increasing the glycosuria, we control the blood sugar by this drug. And the advantage with this drug is weight loss, less chances of hypoglycemia, good control of blood pressure, weight loss, and lipid parameters, and beta cell preservation. These are with these drugs. And SGLT2 inhibitors, because a lot of noise about this in diabetic management because of these cardiovascular outcome effects. If you see, after the controversy of rosaglucagon, it had become mandatory to establish all newer anti-diabetic drugs to prove to be CV neutral or CV beneficial. So if you see all newer class of drug, if you compare DPP4 inhibitor in comparison to the SGLT2 inhibitor, and if you see EMPA-REG outcome or canvas studies with the canagliflozin, or declare group of studies with the dapagliflozin, or VERTIS CV, and recently published DAPA-HF, Credence, EMPEROR reduced, and EMPEROR all have established the CV safety of SGLT2 inhibitor. And among them, dapagliflozin is a center stage because of the advantage it has shown in DAPA-HF trial in reduction of all-cause mortality. I will come one by one. So, dapagliflozin have been studied in declarative study. Sample size was 17,000. Median duration of follow-up 4.2 years. Primary safety endpoint: no increase in MACE event. In fact, hospitalization from heart failure is reduced. CV death and hospitalization from heart failure is also significantly reduced in declarative study. And even in EMPA-REG outcome, there was a reduction in hospitalization for heart failure. Even in canvas study also there was a reduction in hospitalization for heart failure. And another study, analysis in fact, from Taiwan, 12,681 new SGLT2 inhibitor users with a mean age of 60 years, of whom 44% were female and 45% were new dapagliflozin users. And it has been seen new users of dapagliflozin found to have similar risk of primary composite outcome cardiovascular death, myocardial infarction, and ischemic stroke in comparison to EMPA, but a lower risk of heart failure. So risk of cardiovascular event was same, but chances of heart failure development was less with DAPA in comparison to the EMPA. Now coming to the prevalence of heart failure in India. Burden of heart failure is rapidly increasing globally because of more good medical therapy for hypertension, diabetes, better care of myocardial infarction by the introduction of primary PCI, delayed PCI, and revascularization status is improving. Use of high doses of statin, because of that chances of heart failure increase, because we are simply delaying the disease. But ultimately it leads to the heart failure. So mortality rate is 50% at 5 years from the initial diagnosis of heart failure. Recent estimate about the incidence of heart failure in India may vary widely from 1.3 to 3 million because we don't have any real data gathering system in our country. Even the heart failure registry reported that HFpEF accounted for 25% of total heart failure burden, indicating that in Indian clinical practice, heart failure with reduced ejection fraction is predominantly observed. But I think we are not very much accustomed to diagnose heart failure with preserved ejection fraction. For all practical purposes, in Indian setting, most of physicians think once ejection fraction is reduced, then only there is a heart failure. But now the science is changed. Approximately 40 to 50% of the heart failure population is because of heart failure with preserved ejection fraction. Now coming to the role of SGLT2 inhibitor in heart failure, large clinical trial involving patients with type 2 diabetes have shown SGLT2 inhibitor reduces the risk of hospitalization for heart failure, like in DECLARE-TIMI and EMPIRIC outcome. In CANVAS program, SGLT2 inhibitor may slow the progression of cardiac and renal diseases, regardless of cause and independent of the presence or absence of diabetes. Investigator of DAPA-HF trial aim to prospectively evaluate the efficacy and safety of dapagliflozin in patients with heart failure and reduce ejection fraction regardless of the presence of absence of diabetes. So DAPA-HF is one of the landmark trials. Before DAPA-HF, there was a hypothesis generating trial, defined HF trial, a smaller trial, investigator-initiated multi-center randomized control trial. 263 patients were randomized to dapagliflozin 10 mg daily or placebo. Patient profile was LV ejection fraction less than 40%, NYHA class 2 or 3, eGFR more than 30 ml, and elevated natriuretic peptides. The dual primary outcome, meaningful improvement in cardiomyopathy questionnaire, overall summary score, a reduction in NT-proBNP, 61.5% of dapagliflozin patients have better score and more reduction in NT-proBNP and in comparison to placebo, and it was beneficial in heart failure with reduced ejection fraction, irrespective of the diabetic status. That is the important point. In encouraging defined HF trial, the investigator have planned the DAPA-HF trial, which was a really very large trial. In this population, only 45% patients have the diabetes at the baseline, 23% patients were ACN, mean duration of follow-up was 18.2 months. And they have been randomized. Inclusion criteria was NYHA class 2 to 4, LV ejection fraction less than 40, NT-proBNP 600 or more. Exclusion eGFR less than 30, systolic blood pressure less than 95 mmHg, and type 1 diabetic patients were excluded. And they have been randomized. And the data, this trial was event-driven trial, and it had demonstrated there is a 26% reduction in primary composite outcome of worsening heart failure or cardiovascular death. And there was a significant all-cause mortality reduction by 17% in the dapagliflozin arm. And death from cardiovascular causes was reduced by 18%. Hospitalization for heart failure was reduced by 30%. So all outcomes, whether it was all-cause mortality, death from cardiovascular causes, hospitalization for heart failure, all was reduced. Most important is all-cause mortality was reduced in DAPA-HF. That is the really landmark result. And it was received death, hospitalization for heart failure, urgent heart failure visit was also reduced, outpatient intensification of heart failure to be reduced, hospitalization for heart failure or urgent heart failure visit reduced, CV death or hospitalization for heart failure was reduced, CV death, hospitalization or urgent heart failure visit combined endpoint was also reduced, number negative T was 21, CV death, hospitalization for heart failure, urgent heart failure visit, outpatient intensification of heart failure therapy, all was reduced. So it was a really landmark trial. Almost all parameter of heart failure was reduced by dapagliflozin versus the placebo. Now EMPIRIC outcome. After the DAPA-HF EMPIRIC outcome came with the empagliflozin in heart failure, it is a similar trial like a DAPA-HF. Here also primary outcome was reduced, and first and recurrent hospitalization for heart failure was also significantly reduced. Hospitalization for heart failure, cardiovascular death combined endpoint was reduced, and hospitalization for heart failure was also reduced, but there was no reduction in all-cause mortality. If you compare this and this, all-cause mortality, it was not significantly reduced, but in DAPA-HF it was significantly reduced. Cardiovascular death, again, it was not significantly reduced in EMPIRIC reduced. it was significantly reduced in DAPA-HF. First, hospitalization for heart failure and CV death was significantly reduced in both DAPA-HF and EMPA reduced, and first hospitalization for heart failure also reduced in both trials. So it is a matter of controversy why there was no reduction in all-cause mortality and CV death, but on these parameters, DAPA-HF really scores over the empagliflozin. What was the strength of DAPA-HF? Benefit observed were on the top of excellent background therapy. 96% patients were beta blockers, 71% were on the MRAs, 94% of the patients were taking ARAs, IRB, or ERNI. And the curve, if you see the curve started separating rapidly, indicating that patient can derive a benefit soon after treatment initiation, within 30 days. And if you see as far as primary endpoint, combined endpoint, over 18 months was number needed to treat was 21%. And if you see number needed to treat for all cause death, it was 44 for 1.5 year trial duration. But if you calculate this number needed to treat for EMPEROR reduced for all cause death, it is 125. So number needed to treat in EMPEROR reduced is negligible. But in the case of dapagliflozin, it is a P. Internally consistent with a p-value of less than 0.001 in addition to evidence of mortality reduction. Post-hoc analysis have shown benefit seems to be consistent in those who were user of early therapy, the last reported class of medication that reduces the heart failure mortality. And efficacy, the important point we have to remember, dapagliflozin is no more only diabetic drug, anti-diabetic drug. It was because the effect of dapagliflozin in heart failure was independent of glycemic status, extending the use of dapagliflozin beyond diabetes to prevent with heart failure with reduced ejection fraction even without diabetes. So SGLT2 inhibition with dapagliflozin now represents a new foundation therapy over and above ERNI, ACE inhibitor, MRA, and beta blocker. So because of this trial only, most of the guidelines taking the cognizance of dapagliflozin in their addition of the guideline. If you see Canadian Cardiovascular Society guideline, what they are recommending about the SGLT2 inhibitor, what they are recommending, they recommend SGLT2 inhibitors such as empagliflozin, anagliflozin, and dapagliflozin to be used for the treatment of patients with type 2 diabetes and atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease to reduce the risk of heart failure, hospital death. If you are treating diabetic patient for glycemia, then you can use any of these because all three have shown in primary prevention population, they are reducing the risk of prevention of heart failure, hospitalization, and death. But when we have to use for heart failure, what they are recommending? We recommend SGLT2 inhibitor such as dapagliflozin be used in patients with type 2 diabetes with atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease to reduce the risk of heart failure. And if ejection fraction is less than 40%, heart failure with concomitant type 2 diabetes, dapagliflozin should be used among SGLT2 inhibitor. Although EMPA can be used, but dapagliflozin has the more evidence after DAPA-HF. And again, irrespective of diabetes, LV ejection fraction is 40% or less, SGLT2 inhibitor can be used. Specifically, they have named dapagliflozin as a preferable one. And it has been seen the population of DAPA-HF, only 45% patients have type 2 diabetes at the baseline, 55% of the patients of DAPA-HF did not have any diabetes at the baseline. What they have observed, new onset diabetes was 32% less the patients who were treated non-diabetic population who are on the dapagliflozin in comparison with the patient. Again, if you are treating diabetes patient, non-diabetic population with dapagliflozin, then chances of developing new onset diabetes is significantly reduced by addition of dapagliflozin in DAPA-HF trial. So it is another good thing for the heart failure population. And safety, there was no major safety concern, no notable access of any event in dapagliflozin have been observed. And if you compare this and this other anti-diabetic agent, sulfonylurea insulin, hypoglycemia and weight gain is also concerned. But with SGLT2 inhibitors, minimal risk of hypoglycemia and there is a weight loss. Glitazone group, weight gain, it cannot be given in heart failure population, it is contraindicated, but it is drug of choice, dapagliflozin. DPP-4 inhibitor, it is a CV neutral, but saxagliptin should not be used in heart failure because the data is negative. But pepagliflozin or SGLT2 inhibitor is safe. GLP-1 antagonist analog also has some reports on memory thyroid cancer, but I think it have not substantiated in further follow-up. But GLP-1 analog is basically for the atherosclerotic cardiovascular diseases. But SGLT2 inhibitor is mainly beneficial in heart failure. That is the difference. Almost all guidelines, ADA, diabetic population, what they have told is high burden of poor glycemic control, SGLT2 inhibitors form a vital value addition to the armamentarium of glucose lowering agent, in addition to the developing already available popular DPP-4 inhibitor. So now SGLT2 inhibitor in diabetic management is taking central stage, and 2019 update of European Society ADA ESD guideline for type 2 diabetes. Again, they are recommending high risk individual with established type 2 diabetes to treat with GLP-1 receptor agonist or SGLT2 inhibitor to reduce MACE, hospitals for heart failure, CV death or CKD progression should be considered independently of baseline HbA1c individualized HbA1c target. Like statin should be given all CAD patients irrespective of LDL cholesterol. Now that status SGLT2 inhibitor is getting in the management of diabetes irrespective of HbA1c target. If you are using SGLT2 inhibitor, then you are preventing MACE, heart failure, CV death, and CKD prevention. So, as far as renal benefits and heart failure benefit, SGLT2 inhibitor is superior to GLP-1 analog, but atherosclerotic benefits are more with the GLP-1 analog. So, because of dual benefit, heart failure and CKD, and oral in nature, SGLT2 inhibitor should be the choice. Now it's cheaper also. And further recommendation in type 2 diabetes, heart failure, even in the established heart failure population, the update is recommending to use SGLT2 inhibitor, type 2 diabetes and heart failure. And it has been also recommended type 2 diabetes with CKD to prevent further progression of chronic kidney disease, heart failure, MACE and CV death. 2020 ACE and ACE guideline again, irrespective of HbA1c, you can see even entry glycosylated hemoglobin is less than 0.5, SGLT2 inhibitor is recommended. Even when it is between 7.5 to 9, it is recommended. Even it is more than 9, it is recommended. So more or less the concept is getting the popularity because of proven benefit in heart failure and kidney outcomes, MACE and kidney outcomes. It is getting the popularity to be used irrespective of HbA1c. ACC prevention, primary prevention guideline also recommending for adults with type 2 diabetes with additional ASCVD risk factors who require glucose lowering therapy despite initial lifestyle modification and metformin. It may be reasonable to use SGLT2 inhibitor or glucagon like GLP-1 receptor agonist to improve glycemic control and reduce CV risk. To reduce CV risk, this is important. 2019 ESCD guideline on diabetes, pre-diabetes, and cardiovascular diseases, what they are recommending. Type 2 diabetes, drug naive patient. If at the high ASCVD risk, you can start with the SGLT2 inhibitor in place of metformin. And on metformin, again, if you have to add another class of drug, SGLT2 inhibitor and GLP-1 receptor can be used. So SGLT2 inhibitor, EMPA, CANA, and DAPA are recommended to lower risk of heart failure hospitalization of class 1. A indication. RSSDI ESI clinical practice recommendation for the management of type 2 diabetes also recommend SGLT2 inhibitor earlier because the cost issue it was not used, but now it is cheaper. Now expert consensus disease pathway for CV risk reduction by the American College of Cardiology, what they are recommending in patients with type 2 diabetes and ASCVD, SGLT2 inhibitor or GLP-1 receptor agonist. At the time of diagnosis of clinical ASCVD, The SGLT2 inhibitor or GLP-1 receptor agonist, diabetic kidney disease or heart failure. Heart failure, SGLT2 inhibitor. If there is heart failure, then SGLT2 inhibitor must. In patient with type 2 diabetes and drug resistance. That does not include an SGLT2 inhibitor. But at the time of diagnosis of type 2 diabetes in a patient with clinical ASCVD, SGLT2 inhibitor or GLP-1 receptor agonist, DKD, and heart failure, SGLT2 inhibitors will be used. At hospital discharge, with close outpatient follow-up after admission for an ASCVD, again it should be used. In a patient with type 2 diabetes and diabetic kidney disease, if eGFR is more than 30, it should be used. In patient determined to be at high risk of ASCVD, SGLT2 inhibitors are recommended. So now SGLT inhibitor is taking the center stage in the management of diabetes and as well as heart failure. If you see what recently expert consensus pathway recommended by the American College of Cardiology in the management of heart failure document, this has been taken from the heart failure document, not from the diabetes. If any patient of heart failure with reduced ejection fraction, stage C means symptomatic heart failure with reduced ejection fraction population should be treated with beta blocker, diuretic, and ARNI, and still patient is symptomatic. Then there are these 5 choices you are having. Then where SGLT2 inhibitors should be used for patients meeting eGFR criteria, means more than 30 ml per minute, 1.73 square, then and patient is in NYHA class 2 and 4, then SGLT2 inhibitors should be added. So now after ARNI, beta blocker and diuretic, if eGFR is good, now SGLT2 inhibitor comes into the picture along with the aldosterone antagonist. So that is the stand of ACC. Now few words about the mechanism of SGLT2 inhibitor. Lot of hypothesis, because when the EMPA-REG outcome declare TIMI and Canvas program have shown, SGLT2 inhibitors are showing the similar trend. All in primary prevention, they are demonstrating reduction in the hospitalization for heart failure. Then the DEPA-HFN EMPA reduced was planned. A lot of hypotheses were planned how it can act. So what their hypotheses have come into various small studies and various papers. By improving the energy metabolism, by decreased NLRP through inflammasome, improved cardiac remodeling, decreasing ischemia reperfusion injury, improved autophagy and lysosomal degradation in myocytes, inhibited sodium and potassium exchange, and decreased oxidative stress, decreased SGLT1 activity, and decreased epicardial fat mass. It has been seen epicardial fat mass, it is more, it has been correlated with the increased atherosclerotic cardiovascular diseases. And the benefit in heart failure is not only through the heart-related direct myocardial effect, even through the kidney, increased natriuresis and diuresis, decreased glucose, blood glucose due to glycosuria, decreased hyperuricemia. You know, hyperuricemia is one of the CV risk marker for increased cardiovascular diseases, inhibited sodium hydrogen exchange, and improved energy metabolism in the kidney. Vasculature, decreased inflammation, decreased blood pressure, increased postnatal cells, improved vascular function, and overall improvement in weight, inhibition of sympathetic nervous system, and increased erythropoietin secretion is also have been claimed for beneficial effect of SGLT2 inhibitors. Advantage of SGLT2 in a mechanistic way to explain what the advantage of heart failure has been observed. And it has been seen some experimental studies. If you see how the untreated diabetes have been studied, it has been seen in diabetes, very recently recognized, apart from atherosclerotic cardiovascular diseases, there is a chances of increased heart failure. Even the coronary arteries are normal, but there is a more heart failure because of deficient glucose oxidation. More glycolysis is promoted in diabetic population. Ketone oxidation is also promoted, get activated in diabetic population. More fatty acid oxidation pathway is promoted. And glycolysis, you can see here, it is 43%. But once you are treating these hearts with empagliflozin, glucose oxidation is improved. Glycolysis is reduced and ketone oxidation also reduced and fatty acid oxidation is also reduced. So from glycolysis to anaerobic metabolism to aerobic metabolism like in normal heart is promoted once you are giving SGLT2 inhibitor to the diabetic heart. Another paper published in JACC, again they have this is a very good diagram where they have recommended because of these molecular mechanism decrease NHE, decrease CAMK2 receptors, and by promoting mitophagy and autophagy, and by decreasing the inflammation, myocardial inflammation, interstitial inflammation via NLRP3 inhibition inflammation marker, directly myocardial effect can be observed. And apart from that, indirect effect and systemic effect of SGLT2 inhibitor by inhibiting sympathetic nervous system, by increasing the production of erythropoietin, by mobilizing the provascular progenitor cells, which can repair the damaged myocardium, by improving the renal function. Because it has been observed in cardiorenal syndrome, very well established. If there is a derangement in renal function, then automatic secondary to kidney derangement dysfunction, myocardial dysfunction occurs. So it also improves the renal function and improved energetic simply by shifting the myocardial metabolism from more glycolysis prone to the more glucose oxidation, promoting the more glucose oxidation. So these are the mechanism, and it is a very important slide. And in JAMA Cardiology 2018, Srivastava et al. Have analyzed most effective drug for reducing the mortality in heart failure. Number needed to treat for 5 years is 8. Even it is more effective than CRT ICD, and 11 for ERNI compared to the placebo. And when you are comparing ERNI to the ACE inhibitor, it is 21, and CRT and ICD is 14, and MRI is 15, and ACE inhibitor is 18. And dapagliflozin in DAPA, although the number needed to treat is actually 1 by absolute risk reduction, I have calculated it from the DAPA-HF, which is a 11.6 was the absolute mortality in the population on the dapagliflozin, and it was 13.9 on the placebo group. And if you see it, the difference in absolute risk will come 2.3. And if you will calculate absolute number needed to treat, it will be 44. But 44 is important because it is over and above all the established therapy. And if you see the ACE inhibitor 18, it was compared in placebo, diuretic versus diuretic plus ACE inhibitor. So it was the first drug to be tested. And now dapagliflozin, again, this 44 is only for 18 months. If we extrapolate this for 5 years, so it will come around 20. So, but in EMPA-REG, it was not encouraging, it was 120. So dapagliflozin, if you go for 5 years, it was, I have calculated for 18 months for the trial duration. If you extrapolate for 5 years, then it will come around 20. So it is very effective drug. Because of these encouraging data, in one of the paper by McMurray et al. In Circulation, have suggested, should we sequence the treatment for heart failure? Should we change the sequence of heart failure drug? What is conventional sequencing? First give ACE inhibitor, then give beta blocker, then give MRI, then give ERNI, then give SGLT2. This is how the trial evolved and the guideline have taken the cognizance and have advised. But now the new sequence is being proposed: beta blocker plus SGLT2. Why beta blocker? Because beta blocker is the most effective drug in reducing cardiovascular mortality, and it is a drug which reduces the pump failure death as well as sudden cardiac death. Now SGLT2. Now SGLT2. Why it is so? Because if you can remember in DAPA-HF trial, the curve have started separating very early. And another advantage of SGLT2 inhibitor. SGLT2 inhibitor is produces a smart diuretic. What is a smart diuretic? Normally, when we give leaf diuretic, then we activate the renin-angiotensin system, get activated too much. But here we simply osmotic diuretic-like effect we are getting. We are removing water along with glucose and sodium, but there is no more activation of RAS system, and there is improved cardiac energy metabolism. So, if we combine beta blocker with SGLT2 inhibitor, just to not use loop diuretic if it is not required, then add ERNI, then mRNA, and if all three steps can be achieved within 4 weeks, then the benefits are enormous. What benefit? Now we can see another paper. They have divided the fantastic 4 drugs in heart failure: beta blocker, ERNI, SGLT2 inhibitor, and mRNA. Now SGLT2 inhibitor is taking the center stage. ACE inhibitor is almost out after the introduction of ERNI. So ERNI, beta blocker, SGLT2 inhibitors, and mRNA, these are the fantastic 4 drugs is recommended. And apart from that, ferric carboxymaltose, ACE inhibitor, hydrazine. I am not going much detail. I want to be focused on SGLT2 inhibitor. But the analysis, if we can go by comprehensive disease modifying therapy, all these 4 drugs, in comparison to the previous sequencing recommended by the guideline, then what we can gain? Treatment, it has been analyzed. The paper came in Lancet 2020. Treatment with comprehensive disease modifying pharmacological therapy was estimated to afford 2.7 additional years for an 80-year-old male to 8.3 additional years for a 55-year-old free from cardiovascular death or first hospitalization admission, heart failure, and 1.4 additional years for an 80-year-old to 6.3 additional years for a 55-year-old of survival. This is important. 6.3 additional years for 55-year-old of survival compared with the conventional therapy. So it is a very huge advantage if you can combine these 4 classes of drugs and the sequencing which has been told. Thank you all. Thank you all for